Hello, welcome to task 63, the hydraulic valve. We are going to start with the task 63 hydraulic valve starter file, which you can find in your Shared by Me tab in the sidebar. So once you have opened your starter file, we're going to click on the hamburger menu and choose to copy the workspace. You can make it your own. I'm going to call mine task 63 with my name, Mrs. Ayala. Okay. And as always, you'll want to save it in your classwork folder. So once you have done that, you can kind of take a look at your parts. You can see that there were a lot of steps taken to create these parts. They include a cylinder, which is kind of the outer casing of the base, the O-ring, which is this yellow ring that goes around the base, the plunger, which is a gray, almost cylinder, that connects the base or the cylinder to this arm. And then the swing arm is this blue arm on top. So we are going to be working with these pieces to build an assembly of a hydraulic valve that you can actually see the movement at work. Let's start by putting our name on our project. So we'll be all set for that at the end. I'm going to put my name on the side of this swing arm. So now that I've selected the face for my sketch, I'm just going to turn things a little bit so that I can see it clearly. Okay, I'm going to get my text tool and select a place where I want to etch my name in. And I always need to dimension my name once I get it in there. That's actually not a bad size. I think I'll keep it. It's black. So I'm going to go ahead and accept my sketch and do a quick extrude. I will choose to do a remove. I'm not going to make it very deep, maybe just 2 millimeters. And there we go. So now that we have a labeled sidearm or swing arm, we're going to start our assembly. I'm going to click on the plus symbol here to insert a new tab, and I will choose Create Assembly. So as usual, we need to insert the pieces that we want for our assembly. We are going to choose the cylinder, the O-ring, the plunger, and the swing arm. All 4 of those pieces can go here. I'm just going to place them by clicking once. I'm going to go back because I actually want 2 O-rings. So let me get a second O-ring, and I'm going to place it off to the side of the other parts. That's everything. I can check or accept this Insert Parts function. And I'm going to right click on the graphics area to choose Zoom to Fit so I can see all of my pieces pretty neatly. Alright, now that we have inserted our pieces, I'm going to kind of take this all apart so we can see which pieces we have and kind of put them off on the sides till we're ready to use them. I have my 2 rings, I have my plunger. So the piece that I want to fix in the center is the cylinder. To do that, I'm going to click once on the cylinder. When I see my triad manipulator, I'm going to hover over the circle where all of those arrows meet. And I'm going to right click on the circle and choose Move to Origin. I'm going to right click on the cylinder again and choose Fix. And fix, of course, means I can't drag this part around the way I can drag the other pieces around. at this point. The cylinder is fixed in place. So that's fine. Once we have done that, we're just going to start getting our plunger and our side arm connected, because eventually we want those two pieces to be inserted into the cylinder. So let's go ahead and use fasten mate to join these two pieces. I'm going to click on first the top face of the plunger. I can see it's pretty easy to find the center right here. And then I want to center it on the top ring of the side arm. So let me zoom in here, because this can be a tricky one to find. So I want the top ring, I don't want the top face, I don't want the inner cylinder, I don't want the lower ring, I want this top ring right here, because that will bring my plunger flush with the top of the swing arm. So let me click here, and it looks good. Let's look at it in isometric view quickly. Yeah, that looks great. I'm going to choose accept. So I can also look at it from the front. This is good. I don't see any pieces kind of sticking up. They look like they're flush. Okay, great. So the next step is going to be getting our rings, our O-rings, onto the cylinder. Similarly, I'm going to bring them kind of right under where I want them to be placed. And I'm going to use my fasten mate again. Let me zoom in a little bit on this area. First, I'm going to choose one ring, and if I just click on the ring, it looks like I am going to be grabbing the center. But if I hold down the shift key, I can actually get to the center and select it. So here I've got the mate connector of the O-ring. You can see it's selected because it looks orange now. And I'm going to look for the two areas where I want to place are here and right down here. So first, note that when you are in the right place, you're going to see two ovals, because that outlines kind of the top and bottom of where the O-ring is going to be. So we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't want this. You want to hover until you see two rings, and when you see the two rings, you can click. So that gets our O-ring into place. I think that looks good. And then the second one, we have to find another two rings like that. Let's get our fasten mate. We'll click on, holding down my shift key now. We'll click on O-ring number 2. You'll find the two circles where it should go, just like this. So we don't want this ring, we don't want this ring, we don't want this ring. Yes, so you want to find where you can see the top and bottom of where this ring should sit. It can be kind of hard to find it if you're not zoomed in pretty close. So go ahead and zoom in on your cylinder until you see the two rings. And when I click there, my O-ring goes into place. Let's take a look. Oh, this is coming along really nicely. So we have joined 3 pieces together here, the 2 O-rings in the cylinder. And we've joined 2 pieces here, the plunger and the swing arm. Next we need to get the plunger into the cylinder. This is kind of a slightly trickier part. We're going to use the cylindrical mate first of all. This is one of our first times using it, I think. It looks like it has an arrow that shows it can go up and down, and then it has 2 arrows that show it can revolve. So we're going to click on the cylindrical mate, and then it wants to know what are our mate connectors. First we're going to select the center of the bottom of the plunger. Let's turn the world over a little bit. You see the plunger, and here is the center. So let's click right there. You can see we have the bottom face selected. The other mate connection point is going to be the bottom of the cylinder. Not actually the very bottom of the cylinder. We want to be at the bottom of the open part of the cylinder, the parts that is actually open for the plunger. So in order to see what is open and what isn't, let's turn on hidden edges visible, like this. And I think it's also helpful to see, instead of shaded with edges, translucent. You can kind of see through your figure. So if you look at this darker gray area, guess what? That's the part that's open. That's the part where the plunger can slide in and out. And if I look at this from the front, you can kind of see that this area for the plunger doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the cylinder. It stops here, right? That's where we want to join the plunger with the cylinder. So remember, I still have the bottom of my plunger selected. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on the bottom of the cylinder inside of the cylinder. I guess I should say the bottom of the open area inside of the cylinder. And when I click there, this looks good. It looks like things are aligned. What you may have noticed is that the swing arm did not go along with the plunger. That's not unusual. Once we accept this cylindrical mate, then you'll see anything that was left behind should actually go where it belongs. So I think it looks like we are meeting up pretty well here. I'm going to accept. Notice our swing arm went into place. I'm just going to peek at the isometric view. And if things look good, especially if you look at the front and you can see your plunger is in place, then you can go on to the next step. If it doesn't look good, you should go back and repeat what we just did. But if you're ready, then we are going to go ahead and select our cylindrical mate, right click it, and edit that cylindrical mate. We want to put something called limits on the cylindrical mate. This is going to limit the motion that our cylinders can take. Remember we were talking about these arrows on the mate? These cylinders will be able to move up and down in relation to each other and in rotation. So we're going to set some values here to set limits. So first of all, the up and down rotation, the up and down movement is going to start with a minimum of -40 and a maximum of 0. These show the minimum and maximum rotation of our cylinders. So we're going to say the minimum will be 0 and the maximum is going to be 120 degrees. Okay, so let's accept that change. At this point, let's go to our menu, our view cube menu, and we're going to change translucent to shaded with edges. That's the look we had originally. And we're going to, at this point I do want hidden edges to be removed. That's fine. Let's go back to the isometric view. We have a nice view of our hydraulic valve. The last thing I want you to try is right click on this cylindrical mate. And you have this option called animate. So once you see animate, it wants to know what mate you want to animate. We're going to click on the cylindrical valve. And then which degrees of freedom do you want to show animating? I'm going to click on the first one. Now if I press this play button, I can actually see how my piece would move. So this is a great way to use in your design process. This is a great feature to use in your design process. It lets you model what the actual piece would look like, as well as how parts would move in relation to one another. So once you have enjoyed watching your part revolve from side to side, we're going to stop, and we're going to close our animation and open another one where we play with the second cylindrical rotation. And you can see this one actually moves us up and down a little bit. OnShape is not able to show us the two motions at the same time, but I think it's pretty nice to see them separately too. So once you've enjoyed watching your animation, you can stop it. You can perhaps reset. And make sure you turn on your hidden edges. And notice in the instructions it says take an isometric view of the hydraulic valve assembly. Be sure your name and the instances menu, which is over here, are visible. So go ahead now, you can take your screenshot and submit. Good luck with the project.